Hi everyone, Mike here. Today I just want to look at Lone Sherman and three particular elements of the gameplay, or rules I guess, which seem to be causing one or two issues out there. Not many, I don't think. I think most people are playing it right, but when I see sort of pictures that people post and videos and so on, there's just one or two things which perhaps could be well, I want to just make sure people understand exactly how these things are supposed to work, so that you get the full experience from the game that you're meant to get as it was designed to be played. So there are three things I want to whiz over today. I'll do this fairly quickly. I think trying to keep this video as short as possible. First is the AI operation generally. Secondly is the line of sight principle generally, or line of sight rules. And thirdly is just a number of dice which are being rolled for the Sherman operations phase. So nice and quickly then, so the AI rules are generally set out page 19 onwards, and this chart forms the basis of it, of course. So the key thing about the AI rules is that you don't have to think for the AI. You don't have to judge whether something is a good move or a bad move, or a good action or a bad action. Yes, they will now and again do things that you might think could have been done better, or that they perhaps wouldn't do in that situation or whatever, but quite often you just play it out and see what happens. Yes, if they do something a bit daft, then you should try and take advantage of that, because I'm sure you've realised by now it's not an easy game, so you need to take advantage of anything. And at the end of the day, you don't know what's going on inside this enemy tank. You don't know the experience of the crew, their mental state, whether they've got any ammunition, whether they're having problems, whether it's malfunctioning, whatever. There would be things going on in these tanks that you don't know about, so you can use that as a sort of thematic way of explaining what they might be doing and so on. So if this Panzer is here and it rolls a move order or a move action, so it's on the field here and it rolls a 2, then it will move. Okay, you don't have to think about the fact that it says move or turn. You don't have to think, well, a turn would be better because it would turn to face the Sherman and so on. So just move it. It says move. Okay, so this it could be thematically, it could be trying to get around the back of you. So move up here. Yes, it's moving out of line of sight, but it's moving up, maybe to try and get around you, or to get cover behind this small village here, or whatever. Just do exactly what it says. I've been over the turn rules previously on a previous video, so I'm not going to go over those again today. But remember, generally turning is turning towards the Sherman, so he would always turn to the right if he was doing a turn order. But the main thing I wanted to say here is just do exactly what the actions say according to the dice rolls. So if it says move, then move. Only turn then if you can't move. In that case, obviously if you roll a 4, that's a turn, so it will always turn unless it's already facing the Sherman, in which case it won't, as long as its route is not immediately blocked by something here, in which case it will turn. And these rules are explained underneath the chart. So the key thing is, don't need to think, just do what the rules say. Okay. Second thing I wanted to talk about was line of sight. I see some pictures on the Facebook groups and various other places where, for example, there might be a picture like that, and someone will say, oh, I've just been taken out by a Panzer IV, and there'll be some indication that you've just been destroyed or something here, and I sort of look at the picture and think, not in that position you haven't, because the Panzer IV hasn't got line of sight to you. Remember, line of sight in this game only runs along the 6 straight lines of hexes emanating out from the hex the tank is on. So the Panzer IV would have to be there in order to hit the Sherman, or there to fire down this row, or there, or here, or here, or here, or there, really. The buildings are in the way there, of course. So you can't. So if 2 tanks are there and there, they can't see each other. Okay, and again, thematically, if you want an explanation for that, well, I mean, the real explanation is I want to keep line of sight rules as straightforward as possible in my games. I don't want you to have to start pulling out lasers and straight edges and things, and and start doing all this kind of business where you think, well, does that clip the edge of the buildings, or does line of sight run down the line of hex, the edge of a hex, or all that kind of stuff. It just slows the game down and makes it less enjoyable, in my view. So that's the reason for it. Thematically, if you're in a tank, I'm guessing line. I've never been in one myself, obviously, certainly not in a war situation. But I'm guessing that line of sight is not that easy. Vision out of a tank is not perfect, and therefore, when these tanks are sort of moving around each other and so on, it's probably quite easy to lose sight of, even just for a few seconds or a minute or so, lose sight of where they've gone. So that's the explanation, if you prefer it in gameplay, or within theme kind of thing. So just be careful of the line of sight. That is explained on page 7. So you have the diagram there, which clearly shows the lines of sight coming out of the tank's hex in the 6 directions there. So have a read of that, and the explanation underneath tells you. And of course the terrain chart at the beginning tells you what blocks line of sight and what doesn't. Okay, the final thing that I think probably less common but still see it, and I think this is probably not that people are confusing this, but just in the heat of battle, it's easy just to forget. Just be very careful, make sure that at the start of each Sherman operations phase you look carefully and think about which type of which phase you're in, and then which type of hex your tank is on, and make sure you take the number of dice that apply to that. So here, if I was maneuvering in a field, I'd get 1 dice, and then add on the relevant dice for the individuals, the crew members, if they're still around. So here would be a driver, an assistant driver, give you an extra dice each, and 1 if the commander is in the popped hatch position. Miscellaneous is the one I think I've seen most sort of errors on, people kind of grabbing 3 dice every time without seemingly thinking too hard about that. So remember, it's 2 if you're on a field, and plus the 1 if your commander is still alive. But if you're on a road, it's just the 1 dice, or 1 die plus 1 for the commander if they're still alive. So I think that's probably what I've seen mostly there, is that people on a road just sort of grab their 3 dice and roll for the miscellaneous. Well, so this is meant to, thematically meant to be the fact that you're on the road, you might take a hit, catch fire, you pull off into a field, and work on getting that fire out, and in the field you're going to get more dice to help you do that. So if you're on fire, get into a field would be my advice. Okay. All right, I think that's it. Just a few points I wanted to make sure people are picking up on, to make sure they're getting the full experience out of Lone Sherman. Thank you. Cheers.